Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about a business strategy so powerful it can pull a company back from the brink of total collapse and turn it into a world leader. And we're going to do it by unpacking one of the most surprising corporate comeback stories you've likely ever heard. Yeah, I know. At first glance, that question makes absolutely no sense. But the answer holds the key to this whole strategy. And it's an incredible story about finding game-changing solutions in the most unexpected places imaginable. So, to get to the bottom of this, we've got to travel back in time, back to the 1970s, when one company was the undisputed king of the office. And that king's name was Xerox. I mean, think about it. They weren't just a company. They became a verb. You didn't make a copy. You Xeroxed something. They had complete market dominance, instant brand recognition. They had what looked like an unshakable spot at the very top. They were the benchmark. But you know how these stories go. While the king was sitting pretty in its castle, a new threat was quietly creeping up. Competitors from Japan started entering the market, and not with cheap knockoffs, but with machines that were actually better. And all of a sudden, Xerox realized its throne was seriously wobbling. This wasn't just competition, it was an existential threat. So, when you're facing a crisis that big, just working harder isn't going to cut it. You have to work smarter. And out of sheer desperation, they stumbled upon a whole new way of thinking, a tool that would completely change how they saw their own business. And that tool was benchmarking. Now, the idea itself is actually pretty simple, but it's totally revolutionary. It's about stopping the guesswork and starting to measure. Instead of just assuming they were the best, Xerox decided to systematically compare every single part of their business against the absolute best in the world, even if that meant their competitors. Okay, so Xerox starts this really painful process of holding a mirror up to itself and then comparing what they saw to their new Japanese rivals. And what they found wasn't just bad. It was mind-blowing. First off, let's talk about how complicated their operation was. Get this. They had 9 times the number of production suppliers as their rivals. Can you even imagine the logistical nightmare of managing all those different relationships and invoices? And then there was quality. Oh boy. For every one part their competitors rejected on the assembly line, Xerox was throwing out 10. That's just a massive, massive waste of time and money baked right into their process. And look, the problems didn't just stop inside the factory. The final copiers rolling off their lines, they had 7 times more defects. That means 7 times more angry customers, 7 times more repair calls. A total nightmare for the brand. It just kept getting worse. It took them twice as long to even get a new product to market, so they were always playing catch-up. And inside the company, it was totally bloated. They had double the support staff compared to the people actually, building the machines. So when they crunched all the numbers, the final calculation was just brutal. To survive, not even to win, just to stay in the game, they had to boost productivity by an insane 18%. Every single year for 5 years straight. The path forward was clear, but man, was it a steep climb. But here's the thing. Facing those ugly numbers was only half the battle. The real breakthrough, the idea that truly saved them, came when they had this epiphany. Maybe the best solutions aren't even in the copier industry. And this right here brings us back to that crazy question from the beginning. To fix their messy, inefficient parts and supply system, who did Xerox look to? Not another copier company. No way. They benchmarked LL Bean, a mail-order camping store. Why? Because LL Bean was simply the best in the world at warehouse logistics, a copier giant learning how to manage inventory from a company famous for its boots and backpacks. Wild, right? So this whole experience helped them create a simple but really powerful blueprint. First, you figure out your problem. But then, and this is the absolute key, you look outside your own bubble. You find other industries that have totally mastered a similar process. You find the leader, the best of the best, you go visit them, learn everything you can, and then you bring those ideas home to implement. And you can use this blueprint in a few different ways, right? You've got process benchmarking. That's what Xerox did with LL Bean, fixing one specific thing. Then there's performance benchmarking, where you're comparing your product directly against a rival's. And finally, strategic benchmarking, which is the big picture stuff, rethinking your entire long-term game plan. And hey, don't think this is just some old story from the 70s. This exact same thinking is used by top companies today. Take Hong Kong's MTRC, for example. It's one of the best subway systems on the planet, and a big reason why is that they're always looking outside their own industry for new ideas. I mean, just look at this list. To make a better railway, they studied a tech company like IBM, a credit card company like American Express, and a shipping giant like Federal Express. Each one was best in class at something they could learn from, whether it was managing data, handling customers, or just pure logistics. And believe me, this wasn't just for show. The results were real, and the savings were huge. Just by benchmarking their suppliers, they saved over 16 million bucks on better sourcing, and another 6 million by finding a new kind of quiet wheel they wouldn't have discovered otherwise. So, what's the big lesson here from a copier company and a subway system? What's the point of all this? It really all comes down to the power of perspective. Benchmarking forces you to get real about where you stand, not where you think you stand. It lights a fire under you, right? It gives you that urgency to change because you can see what's actually possible. And best of all, it helps you find totally new ways to improve by making you look outside your own little world. You know, when you look at the most successful companies in the world, they are just relentlessly humble. They're always asking, who does this better than we do, and what can we learn from them? It's a really powerful idea, and it kind of leads to a question for all of us, doesn't it? What or who are you measuring yourself against?